Welcome back to K&L Farms. I'm Ken. I hope this video finds you well. And as you've seen from the title, prepping for bad situations or getting prepared for bad situations, there's a couple things. I got 40 years of experience in prepping in my life, and it's just a lifestyle that I've accepted. At this point, it's just fairly common for me, which we'll move on here in a little bit, and I'll go over a couple heat sources and a couple fuel sources. But I got to change some of my vocabulary, and I used to say, if something bad happens. I was preparing for if something bad happens. Well, that's the first one is we know that there's bad things happening in the world, so virtually everywhere. So I have to change that. On my homestead, on my property, nothing bad has currently happened to me, but I prepare for if it comes to me. That's number one. Number two is, it used to be a standard, used to say society would break down in 10 days. And that's my biggest fear. My biggest fear is not going hungry where I live, not fuel, because I prepared for that. Food and fuel and security I prepared for. My biggest fear is other individuals figuring out that, society figuring out that you have something and they didn't prepare and now they want your something. That number used to be the number of days for society to break down. They used to advertise as 10 days. I don't know if you'll remember Katrina. I think it was Katrina, it was a hurricane. I think it was either in New Orleans or Louisiana. In 3 days, they started putting on the air that society were climbing up on roofs with guns and shooting at the helicopters that were trying to bring in food stores for the under individuals. It took 3 days for society to break down. Now, if you're in a major city somewhere in the United States and you've got a go bag in the back of your car, you are fooling yourself. Your number one step should be get out of that main city and get into a rural area with less people, because remember, your biggest fear is going to be other people. And the other thing is if you're moving, once you say you're in downtown somewhere and you get your go bag and you think just because you're the only one that's come up with the idea it's time to evacuate this town or this city, you get in a car and you start driving. Well, one is you just put a big target on your back. Okay, so you don't take the car, you don't take the automobile, you put a backpack on. From some of these big cities, it's a couple days walk to get out of there. So I think that the go bags are just a way for advertisements to sell you a product that you're never going to use. Okay, so you might be thinking to yourself at this point, he's over dramatizing the situation, or just making it more severe than what it actually is, just to sell clicks. And I can assure you that that is not the case, because in my case, when I do long food preparation, when I do even the stuff I'm going to show you later on, and I've told my wife that I prepare for the worst and hope for the best. And a lot of times I buy products that I hope I never have to open the container again in my lifetime. Let's go further than that. I hope in some of these cases that I got, my long-term food services, I don't have to open the container in my grandkids' lifetime. So you go with, okay, well, we're going to need to prepare a little bit more, but it's an isolated situation. And I can assure you that the people in North Carolina this last year and the people in Ukraine thought the exact same thing. Thought that, well, that bad never happens to me, won't happen to me. And in my case, bad means virtually three conditions. One is I live at the foothill of a mountain, a large mountain, and it's active. It's an active volcano. Well, that would bring bad to the homestead. Two is wildfire. If you're in the Northwest, like I am, clear down into California, wildfire is a bad situation. And the other thing I can guarantee you is if the people had put some effort into, they would be in a better condition. I don't know that you, in a volcano or an earthquake That was number 3. Or in a wildland fire, you can stop any of those. You can't. But if your homestead is still standing and you don't have any power left at all, you can't commute back and forth. Groceries, long-term food storage, an energy source of some sort, and some sort of heat, especially this time of year. I think when I got up this morning it was 27 degrees, would be beneficial. So we're going to work on some of that. I might even do a series on, depending on how much traction I get on this video, I might do a series on that, because I've got a lot of experience around prepping and that type of situation. But I'm going to try and move forward and show you a couple of fuel. It'd be fuel and what fuel can do and why I choose the type of fuel that I use in lieu of a different type of fuel. Okay, so I told you a couple things. One, I told you we'd go over fuel, different types of fuel, why I choose the fuel that I actually did. But something that if you're going to get into homesteading, you're going to involve animals, chickens, pigs, cows, whatever you're going to do. And this morning, I think I previously on here, I said that the temp was 27 when I woke up. Now it's got up to about 34. There was a cat. I seen a cat in the driveway. I had to go to town to get this half a ton of pellets. And the cat came in the driveway. The cat's not looking for food. Animals need water just as much as people do, if not more. I've found in certain situations they need it more than we do. So I go and I get a gallon of a gallon container. I think that's a gallon container. A container of extremely hot water. And there's a container out there with the chickens. And I dump this hot water into that water trough, and it melts the water trough. It cools off immediately, and that way the animals could actually get some water. And so I got to pack this out every day, but I haven't fed animals yet because I had to go to town early this morning and just got back from town. So water is very important for animals. And back in my dad's day, when my dad was still alive, we would break water troughs up, and sometimes it would only have, let's say 2 inches of ice on the top, and we would take a pick out there or something, and we would break that water trough up. Water would come out, the animals would come drink. But in short order, at 27 degrees, that would freeze back up. So I take hot water. Usually I take hot water out there, but in the chicken pen, in my chicken coop, I've actually got I think you can go on Amazon, and it's called a heated dog bowl. So I flip a breaker out there, a light switch out there, and that makes that bowl heat up so that chickens can have water in there. And of course I feed every morning, but I haven't done that yet today. So that was one thing I was going to work on. And I got a granddaughter. A granddaughter should show up here shortly, and it's her job to feed chickens and cats. So I'm working on that. So let's go over fuel. You see at least 3 types of fuel, but let's just start out with number 1. Fuel source is gas. So gas, this is the gas container we use. It's kind of a new wave, and it's got a spout on it compared to what we used to use. This is a newer one. But gas has a shelf life. You're talking about 6 months, and then you have to rotate gas, and it's a big thing you have to worry about. So I don't normally do gas as a fuel source, excluding, of course, the trucks and that type of thing. But I'm saying on the homestead, I try and do propane. Try and get a bunch of these bottles filled up, because these bottles will do a lot of things for me. You see, I don't know if you can see on the frame or not, but a smoker and a cooker and heat sources. You can cook with it. You got a heat source with it. And inside this propane container, and I have many of these, and I don't know, 7, 8 of these containers, it won't, in lieu of the container going bad, the fuel won't go bad in here, and you can always take this fuel and hook it in, and then you can cook with it, you can heat with it. So I opt not for gas or diesel, and I opt for a propane, and I have a large propane tank, probably 6 months worth of propane for the main residence and the generator that I fill up. And when I have that filled up, I set these tanks out, and the guy comes, when he comes, the delivery person comes, they fill the main tank, and then they'll fill these stub tanks, and I usually try and keep a bunch of these stub tanks on the homestead at a time. And then in the background, you see the pellets, which I'll unload here in just a minute, but you see the pellets, that's a source of heat. Now I have 3 sources of heat in my main residence, and I would prefer, or the best way to go is a wood stove with wood. But if you've ever done wood, we did it for 30 years. You got to go get it, which is becoming more difficult. You got to cut it, split it, stack it, make sure it's dry, move it into the house. So at my age, I've kind of gone with the easy button a little bit, in that pellets, I go to we actually went to the farm and feed store. I won't tell you which one, but let's just go with that. And get a half ton, bring it back, set it in the garage. Now, every evening, I come get a 40-pound bag, bring it in the house. Both heat sources are extremely dirty, but that's one source of heat inside of the house. The other source, we have a propane heater in the house, and with the pellet stove and the propane heater, both that we purchased, you can take a battery out of a vehicle and put an inverter for your battery out of the vehicle, invert into 110, and then you'd be good to go. Okay, so we're just going to work off of, I got to get this half a ton of pellets off this truck. My father-in-law and my dad both, as soon as you can get weight off a truck, do so. And so I'm just trying to get this pellets, a half ton, to the tailgate, old man style, go down the ladder, and then pile it up next to, over by the camera. So let's work on that for just a minute. Yeah, that bites a little bit, but now remember, I'm trying to get pellets off, stacked up, truck out, garage door shut, because, you know, this morning was 24 degrees or so, and tomorrow morning would probably be the same thing. So if I can pull this truck out or get this done, pull this truck out, get the door shut, then I could turn some heat on so I can actually use the garage or the wood shop for tomorrow. See if I can get down that ladder and get some of this off there.